Alright, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good morning. We'll start straight away at 7 because it is kind of slow, but we're going to hold the handles just a tiny bit while we drink the water. But yeah, actually, maybe I'll just pause it fully. Let's just go 3 speed and just drink some water first and get ready. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this time we're going to go try to get faster. So, yesterday we figured out that 6 speed, 30 minutes is pretty much dead on 300 calories and around 100 and something plus floors. So today we're gonna go 80 to 7, 8, no 7 to 8 speed. Yeah, no handles, no handles. Let's go. See how it goes. We'll go with 7 speed first. It's not too. It's not as fast as. No, it's slightly faster than number 6, but the effect should be the same. Slow but heavy to breathe. And we did bring a second shirt, by the way. Only thing I forgot to bring was that even though I brought a second shirt, I didn't bring another plastic bag to have the short, the wet shirt in. So yeah, as expected, the breathing's gonna be slightly heavier. Okay, 2 minutes and 30 seconds in. It's slightly faster, obviously. The walk's gonna be slow and heavy. The did is for 27 minutes more. Sounds kind of like a pain. And our breathing's actually so heavy. Way harder than walking. Alright, it's time to go 8 speed. Okay, we're going 8 speed now. So a lot more faster than number 6. And I'll see how it goes. However, I really can't talk much because this is requiring a lot of my breathing. I'm kind of curious, what's my heart rate right now? 146 is the heart rate. You know, even at 8 speed, we're still able to drink some water. Again, if this shirt gets wet, we have a spare one on standby. This is a very silent mission. There's nothing to really say. Just cold and detached. That's how things should be. You know what? It's actually so difficult to not just lean on the rails right now, but leaning on the rails is against the rules. But man, okay, well, an update on the data. It's around 11 minutes in, and we have gone through 126 calories. And our floor is basically 50. Okay, I'm gonna see what happens if we go 10 speed. We go a lot more faster. Speed 8 is okay for now. We can do number 10. You know what? Fine. Let's do number 10 and just see how things go. However, this might be pretty rough. Swinging your arms at number 10 actually works. Wait, this breathing is the same as running, but maybe a bit more intense. Okay. I have gone back to speed 8. All I know is that 10 speed on the Stairmaster is really no joke. I'm still breathing pretty hard from that. And it was only for 2 minutes. Okay, progress. 17 minutes in, 200 calories, 78 floors. Speed 8. I would say medium difficulty. It's more about the mind, or if you're sleepy or not. Because if you're sleepy, you're gonna lay onto handles like this. If you take it off, everything's yours. Again, at 20 minutes, the machine briefly stops and the show continues. And the heart rate still says like 140 plus. What I do know is that from time to time, I'm using my mouth to breathe. And I'm also kind of cheating by putting my hands here. I'm pretending I'm taking in the heart rate, but in reality, I'm getting just a few seconds of rest. So, is it official? You tell me. There you go, 20 minutes. Stairs automatically stop. Let's go straight towards 10 speed. See if we could even last 10 minutes in 10 speed. So 246 calories, 20 minutes, and floors 95. For number 2, you're gonna have to swing your arms. Okay, the breathing's very hard. I must say, 10 speed is actually really difficult. We're not even running, we're just climbing up fast. No handles is making this really difficult, and the breathing. Five more minutes of this. 5 more minutes of 10 speed. Both of my ears are ringing, and I can't talk. And I'm using the mouth technique. Wait, what's my heart rate? I'm cheating. 175. Now that is something I can agree to. 175 heart per minute. Three more minutes. All right, 1 minute left, and then we're gonna check the data. It's gonna be the longest minute. Quickly show the stats before it disappears. Floors, crap. 138. Summary. Average. Very high. Flaws. 148. This machine doesn't show the summaries that well, but it did say 300 and something cap. It's already gone. This machine really doesn't show the summary fast enough. No. It's too fast. It shows the summary way too fast. But it wasn't as bad as I think running was probably still the hardest, but that was I'm dead. Alright. So let's quickly talk about that. Last 10 minutes we did 10 speed. Very difficult, very heavy breathing, however. It still wasn't as bad as the running, obviously. I think running still burned a bit more calories and more intense and fast. But this one, the steam machine's heavy and hard. But overall, though, that wasn't that bad. I suspect that since we broke one of the limiters on the running, that stair one was a lot easier than usual. So, when we broke the running limiter, that helped with the stairs today, 100%. So that wasn't that bad. Definitely really good. Breathing really hard, but overall though, I think we can go faster because we did go 7 speed, 8 speed, and then the last 10 minutes was 10 speed. I did hold on to the rail. I hold on to the rail for like maybe 1 minute collectively, just to check one to rest and to check the heart rate. If I'm gonna be honest, the heart rate usually doesn't really do anything. I just used it as an excuse to touch the rails for a few seconds. But overall, it's pretty hard. But this time, since we are doing chest day, I'm gonna change t-shirts because, as we know, I'm very wet right now, and changing t-shirts for bench is gonna be significantly better. So let me go do that. Okay, I'm back. Surprisingly, the spare shirt method definitely works. It feels a lot better. Only thing is that the plastic bag we have is nowhere near big enough, so next time we'll bring a bigger one. But I think we could still manage to fit majority of the t-shirt inside. Oh yeah, well, yeah, we'll need to bring a bigger Ziploc bag, but that should be alright for now. So yeah, change t-shirts, as you could tell. It's a lot more fresher, I'm not gonna lie. It's a significantly a lot better. Maybe we should really start getting a habit of that. Only thing about this is that we will be using double the amount of shirts, which is fine. I just have to buy more black shirts. I already have like a whole bunch of black shirts, but if we use 2 a day, then I'm just gonna have to up the laundry cycle again. But yeah, everything's quite nice and dry. Sure, the shirt might get a tiny bit more wet from the overall. It's not bad. But yeah, new shirt definitely feels a lot better, but the new shirt is still absorbing some of the sweat to a degree, but it's nowhere near as wet as that shirt. So yeah, we might feeling a lot more fresh right now with the fresh shirt. So now the bench press won't be so much of a trouble. Ah yes, that's gonna be a PR as well. Personal record. I'm not I can't remember the stats already because the summary is so fast, but there should be a personal record for the time being. Maybe we'll be doing 10 speed longer, but it's really hard. What's actually unfortunate is that the the new shirt is already getting wet because I guess we didn't actually dry ourselves properly or something like. It's like even if we got a new shirt, we're still sweating and it's already back to being wet. So that's kind of a shame, but it is what it is. Maybe we should stretch first and then change. Yeah, we probably should have done that first. Instead of changing shirts so fast, we should just stretch first, and then after stretching, then we change to and fresher. Then we change into a fresher shirt. Yeah, that's probably what we should be doing. All right, as you can see, the bench is looking decent. Sure, it's not properly positioned, and there's a lot of little weights on it, but it's not too difficult to adjust. Matter of fact, 10 size is okay. You're not fine. We'll just leave it at 10 size. 10 size is not that bad. I would prefer having it a 5 plate, but it's alright. Also, our face might be a bit more reddish from yesterday's unexpected trip to the waters in the wind. I wasn't even expecting yesterday's trip, but it's alright. We haven't actually gone on Scorch Drive in like 2 days in a row, 3 days now. I have to do Scorch Drive today. It's just I've been doing other stuff. How's the new shirt doing? New shirt is somewhat dry. The back is still kind of wet, but it'll do. You can tell that this part is super open. Either way, we have to just do this. You know what? That's actually quite dry. That's actually not bad. Actually, we're kind of dry from that. Okay, so getting a new shirt is definitely a game changer. Well, no, only when you have done heavy exercise. Oh no, when you sweat a lot. If you're walking and you do this, you're already dry. Yeah, hair's still wet. Only annoying thing is the headphones aren't very cooperative during that, but that's alright. Let's add some weight and then start drinking and eating. Yeah, hair's still a bit wet. I got a lot of footage to edit. When we do the stairs, we might not even. Actually, no. When we do the stairs, headphones, headphones are alright. I'll allow it. The headphones don't really jiggle much. Well, the headphones are fine during the stairs. They just absorb a lot of sweat, kind of, but it's not in the way. Compared to running, the stairs, oh, no, the headphones are fine. Feeling a lot more fresh now. I just used the gym's paper towels and just wiped down my hair quite a lot. My hair's getting long. It's getting it's getting long. Might time to go bald. Yeah. Hmm, there's nothing wrong with going bald, right? I don't see anything wrong with going bald. Alright, fours and fives. Should probably be eating some banana. We should probably eat the banana now as well. And we still got to drink an entire water bottle, which is actually insane. I'm not really gonna change the weight on the bench. The weight is fine. That's good. All right. So four fives. We still got banana to eat. Look at that. It's all probably browned and mushed up because it took quite a lot of damage. Or not. I thought it would brown up by now. No, it's not brown. All good. Oh, this one's very mushy. The texture is very mushy. Right? No, not mushy. It's very starchy. Okay, banana's done. Now we're on fives. And here's the other water bottle. Man, it's a lot of water and bananas. Man, it's water. I just realized that we haven't really been talking much for like ever since we did the stairs. I just realized that we've been silent the whole time. Probably. We've just been drinking water, just drinking water, doing the. Actually, yeah. Matter of fact, we have just been silent. Just water, bananas, more water, adjusting the bench. And that's it. It's nothing really to talk about besides the fact that today I've got to do the L-Theory regime and then I'm gonna eat. Today I'm only gonna eat 2,000 calories or less. The meat today is gonna be very high in calories, so yeah. The meat today is a lot more calorie dense protein, so therefore we're gonna have to lower the amount of either bread, rice, or muesli. I don't even know how heavy we are today. I feel today feels really heavy though, kind of. I don't really know. Maybe it's just the water. Did I even eat any rice yesterday? No, I don't think I did. Yesterday we just ate a bunch of bread, bread and some muesli. What still surprises me is how much muesli, how efficient muesli is. It's like such small amount of grams is so many calories compared to rice and bread. Yeah, one of the hardest things about the stairs is literally just try not to hold the rails. I mean, I still kind of failed to a degree. I touched the rails multiple times to check my heart rate, which was true, but also kind of just an excuse to really touch the rails. I think it's because of the stair machine. If you really just hold the rails, you can literally fall asleep, go on autopilot, and it's like the most easiest cardio in your life. Man, it's pretty good. Not gonna lie, back in the day, doing the stair machine while still sleeping is like, it's pretty good. Not really sure if it's actually that good. I think it's just because I'm craving it to sleep and just going autopilot. But the only problem is that that only works if you're actually tired. If you're awake fully, then holding onto the rails, holding onto the rails and trying to go on autopilot won't work because you're not even tired. So it really only works if you're super tired. Alright, five to go. We need to finish all the water. But yeah, today just seems really slow, kind of. I don't really know. Don't really know what to say. I already know what to do right now. We're gonna do the chest and then Alpha 3 regime, and then eat, and then edit, and then edit the DJI footage because we've got extra content, and then dips and pull-ups again, and then after the dips and pull-ups, continue to do data work. Probably eat the final meal, which is the meat and things, and then either stream or make a video, and then do I need to do a delivery work today, and then also have to work, and that's basically the whole day already planned out fully. Yeah, that really is just the whole plan for the day. Not sure if we can do a scorch. I think technically I can do a scorch earth. I just have to start the stream early, but recently for like the past 2 weeks, I've been less streaming, been more about just researching and testing out multiple ecosystems. I've gone through so many scenarios, and I need to look at how to upload a webtoon because I made a webtoon manga thing recently, like 2 days ago. Just for some reason, made some drawings. Alright, Smith machine today is satisfactory. Wasn't wasn't difficult. It wasn't too easy. It was just normal. I think today we're going to be doing decline. We're going to do cable. We're going to do the cable version today because it looks like it's already set up for me. So I'll take the free setup anytime. I'll take the free setup anytime. We actually still haven't finished the order yet. Though I must say, having a spare shirt definitely helped with the bench press today. 100%. Extra shirt definitely helps. But next time we'll definitely do the stretching first. We'll do the stretching first and then change to a different t-shirt. That seems more efficient. That's right, we'll learn. We'll learn. So, bigger Ziploc bag for a shirt and a mask. And then also stretch, and then after stretching, then we change into the fresher shirt. And then what? And then we just continue our normal thing. Okay, it looks like this part has been set up for us. No, never mind. Alright, no, to a degree, yes. To a degree, this thing's set up for us, but not fully because there's one anomaly. I need to find that missing piece. Found it. Yep, looks about right to me. I'll take the free setup. Appreciate the free setup. I do appreciate that free setup, not gonna lie. Wasn't too many steps. Just change this and yep, looks about right. I think you're a bit too close though, but I'll change you once I do this. Yeah, we'll change shirts for Tuesday tomorrow. We'll change shirts for tomorrow because tomorrow's leg press requires us to sit down, and that uses up, you know, our back. Just like how the bench press requires us to use our back. But for shoulder day, I don't think we need to. We don't need to, but yeah. Oh yeah, might be that time of the month where we have to refuel on storage space because we are catching up to the storage space slowly. Another $300 dues for 5 terabytes of storage. Not bad. Is that bad? 5 terabytes for $300 for 5 terabytes. Not bad. It's not bad. It lasts us like around a month or two. I have lowered the raw footage from 4K to 1080p, but that's alright because the YouTube it really depends. No, we still use it quite a lot. We used up nearly, I would say we use up around, it really depends on the situation, but for example, is if we do some, okay, if we have days where they are not, there's no like 4K, no, shoot. Okay, the raw data is at 1080p because it's raw. It's not 4K, but the YouTube video is 4K. So, but then when it's like a really special event, like yesterday, I will keep the raw videos at 4K 60 FPS, which uses up a lot of gigabytes. So we usually use around 100 to 200 gigabytes a day, depending because the Scorch Earth series uses around 100 gigabytes a day or every 3 hours, which is like one episode. So we do use up quite a lot of storage, and that 5 terabytes is going to fill up quite fast. Actually, no. The Scorched Earth footage shouldn't take up that much space because it's 1080p, not 4K. Yeah, we use a lot of storage. Technically, 5 terabytes should last us like a month at best. Oh yeah, the water's done. Let's check the water. I mean, I could invest in a large HDD, right? Which is significantly more than 5 terabytes. However, I'm willing to just spend extra money and use up more physical storage space, and just continue buying 5 terabyte portable hard drives because so far all my portable hard drives are reliable. However, my large HDDs that I used to have, very unreliable, die fast, terrible, like just absolutely terrible. It scarred me. I used hold on, look at it, 69.7, a little bit lower than yesterday. Perhaps it's because we're off the rice, but I'm gonna eat rice again today because I'm crazy. Oh yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I used to have these I did buy a large expansion from Seagate, but those are just so unreliable. And probably lost like nearly one to 2 grand on the failed HDDs, and I bought it from Amazon, so it is what it is. I've already accepted a loss. It's just kind of like investing, you know? You win some, you lose some. It is what it is. So currently, the only upgrades we really are looking at right now are just an extra HDD, which is treated like gas, and potentially, if I really need to, I would invest into another 4 terabyte SSD because we still have that enclosure that we haven't even used or unboxed yet, but haven't seen the need to because it seems like 4 terabyte SSDs are working like a charm. And we actually also have a fourth SSD which is 1 terabyte, but that one is not really used much. It's only used to transfer from the PC to the Mac Mini. So yeah, a fourth. Actually, we're using 4 SSDs. Three are 4 terabytes. One is the 1 terabyte one, and pretty much how it works is shut up. What was I saying? What was I saying? Oh yeah, I remember now. Yeah, one is okay. One 4 terabyte SSD is exFAT, which is what Deep Blue uses. I have one APFS T9, which is alternated with the TUF, which is also APFS, right? So those two work in charm. One goes in the MacBook Air, which uses it to transfer from exFAT, and then the other one is on the Mac Mini, which edits the previous day footage. And then we've also got one Samsung T7, which is 1 terabyte, and that one's also exFAT, but that one only uses its only purpose is to transfer from the PC to the Mac when we do Mr. Nightmare videos or story videos. However, with the new Arc Scorched Earth thing, I'm thinking we just straight up use DaVinci because it's a different scenario. And then also, we have a lot of 5 terabyte hard drives, which basically archive the footage. It basically holds all the raw footage and the edited footage. Because, YouTube already holds the digital footage, but then the hard drives hold the raw footage. So just collecting data. Yeah. So yeah, just that's basically it. The raw footage is decent. No edits, no cuts, no speeds ups. It's just straight up. You skim through it. You watch it by skimming through it. That's how you watch him. I mean, of course, there's like a risk to it. It's kind of like, hold on, shut up. I think people my generation have really scuffed the history dating. No, no, data collecting. Back in the day, if you go to your grandparents, they have these large albums of just photos, right, of the life, right? But in today's age, no one does that anymore. Everyone takes photos with their phones, but then they stop because they cheap out on storage. Come on now, let's be honest now. I know that for a fact. In today's modern age, people don't really store much. They don't really. Okay, you see people take lots of selfies and stuff, right? But they rarely store it because storage is expensive. Digital, like just hard drives and stuff, are more expensive than paper, maybe. Well, what I do know is that your grandparents have these albums, like huge albums stacked upon each other with photos, right? Printed photos, colored or not colored. Either way, your grandparents have huge albums with a bunch of photos of their lives and even you as a child or baby. But in today's age, people kind of just fill up their phone, their iPhone or cloud storage, and then it gets too full, and then they just stop or they take less photos. The smart ones transfer into hard drives and save it. But I mean, there's a risk. There's obviously multiple risk factors. One is if the hard drive fails, then that footage is somewhat lost, but you can always get it recovered, right? It's more fragile than paper. Like printed out photos is a lot more sturdier, right? A lot more safer. But the only problem is it's really bulky, and yeah, it's overall just bulky, but it's not bad. But I think printed out paper might be a bit more expensive, especially because you cannot hold videos. The good thing about H hard drives is that you can hold videos. You just have to be really delicate with them and try not to. I mean, yeah, it's just multiple risk factors. Positives and negatives each have their own kind of unique thing. If you're going to be traveling or completely moving out of the country, hard drives are probably the way to go to a degree because you can stack so many terabytes of footage in like one little bag, right? Compared to an album. And plus the fact that you could do videos, you can store videos like hours of videos. Is just it beats paper. It beats the albums by significantly a lot because albums are only single photos, one frame, whereas you can literally hold a 2 hour 4K 60 FPS footage of you and your family, you know? So, yeah, but I think people don't really take photos or people don't really store much of the data now these days because one, storage is expensive, and yeah, but maybe you should look into getting albums again, only for the rare photos. Oh yeah, well, I guess to a degree, paper ones can be, you know, can be burnt in fire, but the HDDs can also be burnt in fire, so there's no difference there. And if someone has access to your HDD, they can look at all your private stuff, but at the same time, if someone picks up your album, they could literally scan everything too. And plus, HDDs are a lot easier to duplicate. You can clone an entire HDD without much of a issue. It just takes a bit of hours and it'll magically clone itself so you can make multiple copies no matter what. But with an album, you're not going to really have another copy. But overall, digital data is more king, especially in my context, because my context is, you know, MP MP4s. Can't really store MP4s on a album, can I? And also another method, which is the one I'm using right now, is YouTube. YouTube's a very good. I mean, look, every single data collection method has its own black and whites. YouTube will store your digital data, and it's out into the public, right? So obviously you can't publish too many raw things, right? But you know, not that dark. That's why you have to have the mindset of the Truman Show in order to upload so many raw footage. Because if you have the mindset of the Truman Show, then the world's already watching you. So why not just show it out? All right, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate it again. I know we talked a lot near the end because I got a bit passionate there about storing footage and history. But yeah, maybe if you're listening to the end part, you should probably start investing into some hard drives and take some more photos of you and your family before the world end. Oh no, before the world's not gonna end, but before. Well, I can't really say much about it, but try and get some history and lore with yourself and your family. It'll be good for you and good for the data collection. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Yep, it's been a while again since we've last done a video, but I'll get into it now. We're going to be going through this. Obviously, we're not going to be going through the entire 1 hour and 30 minutes, but we're going to keep track this time. So we're going to see how many stories we can do, maybe 1 or 2 today, and then the next day we'll continue this until we finish it, yeah? So here we go. Scariest stories from the man, the myth, Mr. Nightmare, of course. You know what I mean? And yep. So I guess we'll just get into it. Use our brain and just analyze it, yeah? So story 1, we're going to start from 00, and we'll just see how many stories we can go through today, right? Alright, let's go. The scariest stories of 2025. Alright, story 1 from Anonymous author.
Back in 2017, I had moved to a smaller town in rural Illinois, and I only knew one person in town. I'm a bit of an introvert, so I had a hard time making friends.
All good.
Especially being single and in my early 20s, living in a town filled with a population that was mostly retired.
Okay, so this guy's in his 20s. Oh, actually, hold on. We don't know if it's a guy or girl yet, but 20s.
My friend, who I'll call Clara, introduced me to an older couple that were maybe in the...
Clara. Okay, so your friend's a girl. So that means I'm assuming story 1 is a female, 20 years old plus. Alright, cool, got it.
their early 50s and were looking for a dog sitter. She thought it would be a good way for me to make some connections while living there. We had made time to meet at their house so I could see the lay of the land and meet the dogs. The home was a 70s brick ranch style, severely outdated and slightly falling apart in some places. I explored abandoned houses for fun, so I didn't mind. The dogs were sweet, but as for the couple, they were odd. They were friendly enough, but while I'd be speaking to them, instead of making eye contact, they'd be doing more of a full body scan as if sizing me up. They would also guide me to rooms and not really say anything on the tour, just open the doors and let me look and then close them. I should also mention they sell firearms out of their home as a side business, which I didn't really mind, but they had cameras everywhere, outside and in. Hallways, living room, kitchen, office, garage, backyard, driveway, kitchen table, etc. They told me it was just for insurance purposes due to their business.
Okay, well, I mean, firearm business, right? What did I say about, just houses in general? Security cameras everywhere. And these guys have, these couples have firearms, so nothing wrong there.
Seems like it's a couple's in their 50s and they need a dog sitter. It's kind of, I feel like that's kind of a weird thing, no? You have a firearm business at your home and you need a dog sitter. Does that, I feel like that kind of doesn't really make sense, right? Like, okay, you take care of the dogs, but you're also selling firearms. So wouldn't you just get like an employee or something? And also, let's remember that this is a 20-year-old female. So, from my initial thoughts, because this is a horror story. Okay, no, we can't assume too much. Let's just continue it.
Made me a little uncomfortable, but I was just really hoping to make some sort of connection in this town and some money. Then the time came for me to come and watch the dogs. They'd been gone for a week and I'd been working from home, so I made myself comfortable. I set up my workspace in their office, which had a monitor that had cameras outside displayed so I could see all around the house, which was kind of nice because I felt a little at ease being alone on a decent-sized property in the middle of nowhere. I should also note, the dogs had a doggy door so they could go outside 24/7, and the house backed up to the woods. First night was fine. Second night, I noticed one of the cameras went offline that watched the driveway. I didn't think much of it, as Wi-Fi out in rural areas is finicky, but I still went and checked just in case maybe the camera fell or something. As I walked to the door, I heard the dogs get off the ground and scramble frantically to run out the doggy door and start barking like crazy. Mind you, it's about 10 at night, so I got freaked out and wanted to get the dogs to come back inside. So I made my way to the back door and noticed the dogs were both barking like crazy at the same spot at the part of the fence that backs up to the woods. I didn't see anything, but I'd seen enough horror movies to where I was starting to psych myself out and I had to find a way to calm down and get the dogs in. So treats it was. I got them back in and blocked off the doggy door with a chair that weighed a decent amount and called it a night. Next morning, I woke up late and threw myself off and had to start working before I could feed the dogs. But then I noticed they weren't at the front of the bed anymore. The house was quiet. I got up and called their names and they didn't respond. So I walked to the back door and they were in the yard just doing their thing. Then it hit me. How did they get outside when I blocked the door? My heart sank, and I felt all the blood rush from my head as I turned to my right to see the chair that I had pushed in front of the doggy door now was sitting in the corner of the room. Panic set in immediately, and I called my friend Clara to explain the situation and that I needed her to come here ASAP to do a walkthrough of the house with me because I just knew there was no way the dogs could move that
Why don't you just get the dog with you? You have 2 dogs. Why don't you just call them over? It's either the owners came back somehow, or yeah, because I mean, if the dogs were barking right at whatever was outside, then the dogs would have dealt with the creature inside the house. So either the dog somehow completely missed the creature inside this house, or the owner himself came out. But okay.
chair 5+ feet. She came over about 20 minutes later, and I made a beeline for the front door and let her in. We both went room by room and couldn't find anything or anyone. It just didn't make any sense. She tried to reassure me that maybe I didn't have it pushed over as much as I thought I did. I figured I'd just accept it for what it was and just push through on overly high alert for the next 4 days. Clara left and I went back to work. The day was fine and quiet, and I began to relax again. I finished making dinner and decided to get some work done. I sat down in the office and just happened to turn to look at the monitor with the camera views on it and noticed all of them were offline. My stomach dropped.
GG.
I knew one going out was possible, but all 4? That was just too coincidental. Due to the nature of the business the couple ran, I texted them to let them know their cameras were down, and if they wanted me to try and troubleshoot it for them, I'd be happy to. Also because I didn't like not having eyes on the outside of this place.
True.
A couple hours went by and no response. They're on vacation after all, so I just figured I'd have to let it go and suck it up until they get back to me. It was late, close to midnight, when I finally settled in and was watching TV to fill the void of silence that surrounded me when I heard the dogs get up and scramble to the doggy door again. I shot up and out of bed, my heart pounding out of my chest because I knew something was wrong. I grabbed the knife I had sitting next to the bed and walked to the back door looking out.
You're looking after a firearms place and you don't have a firearm. Someone tell me if that makes sense or not. Someone tell me if that. Sorry, hold on. This house has got firearms that you sell in your side business. You hire someone to look after. Let's be honest, they don't even hire. She's not even there to look after the dogs. She's there to look after the guns. So you wouldn't give her a firearm? Hey, we're gonna go on holiday. Okay, also, like I said, hey, we're gonna go on holiday. Let's get a dog sitter to look after our property that has firearms in it that we sell. Why don't you just give her a firearm? So you're gonna have a knife now? Okay. Just saying, like, just grab a spare firearm, no? Where is the firearm room anyways? Who would... Okay.
Into the yard and couldn't see anything. The dogs had already stopped barking and were now just sniffing along the fence. I did that whisper yell to get them to come back in when I heard a thump come from the other side of the house. Frozen, I had to make a decision fast. Try to get the dogs in or investigate whatever the hell just fell. I got the dogs in just in case it was some animal they were after. I didn't want them to get skunk sprayed or something. They wandered into the living room and hopped on the couches, and I slid the chair back in front of the door. I took a picture with my phone this time just so I could reassure myself I did it. I made my way to the back room where I heard the thump noise, and I immediately froze. I'm not sure if anyone else can understand, but when there's a presence in the room, there's almost this small difference in the atmosphere. There's a white noise, not breathing or movement, just a break in the stagnance of the silence. Well, regardless if you don't, I felt it. I wasn't going to be that person that kept seeking out the exact area of where this was coming from, so I asked, "Who's there? What are you doing here?" Silence. I then called out the names of the couple that lived there to see if for some wild reason they were in their own home at midnight when they weren't supposed to be, but again met with silence. Clara has a kid and husband, so I didn't want to bother her, so I figured the next thing I would do was call the police. But then I felt that wash of embarrassment in case it was nothing. They'd think I'm an idiot. I stepped back into the hallway that led to the room and slowly closed the door as quiet as possible and locked the door. I went and sat in the living room with the dogs with my phone in one hand and knife in the other. I couldn't make a decision on what to do. About 20 minutes went by and I received a text from the wife saying, "Hi, don't worry about the cameras, you're safe." I was thrown off because they were in Florida.
It's the couple that's coming back. GG. The couple's here to kidnap her. There's been a trap the whole time. It's over. They don't give her a gun. They turn off the cameras. They looked at her body at the beginning of the entire... whatever you want to call this job. Yeah, they're kidnapping her. GG. Human traffic.
And it was almost 2 in the morning there. And also, what do you mean I'm safe? I didn't even mention safety being the issue. I was getting ready to give a general sounds good text when I got another text from the wife. It read, "Also, can you make sure that I didn't leave the garage door open to the inside? I don't want anything getting in." The door she's mentioning is in that back room. I didn't want to go back in there for obvious reasons, so I just didn't respond and pretended like I was asleep and couldn't. 2 minutes later, she texted again. "Hi, I know it's late, but can you please check on this for me, as I'm worried." My gut was screaming no, but maybe the noise was a wild animal that got in. I didn't respond, but got up to go check, knife and phone in hand still. As I approached the door, I heard a shuffle from the back room. I stopped and stood there silent to see if I heard anything else before I opened the door.
Where's the dogs?
My phone lit up, and she texted me, "I see you're up. Can you please go in and check?" I couldn't move. I forgot they had cameras in the hallway and in the living room. Why were they pushing this at 1 in the morning? Now knowing I was being watched, reluctantly, I slowly unlocked the door and opened it with my arms stretched as far as I could to get an open view of the room from as far as possible. I didn't hear anything or see anything, so I took a couple steps into the room and saw the door to the garage was in fact open.
What?
It was so damn dark in there, I didn't want to get any closer, but I had to do it and just get this over with. I approached the door, and a light appeared from my phone as I had gotten a notification, and the faint light from my phone lit a portion of the garage doorway I was about 2 steps from, when I noticed the outline of an arm pressed against the wall right next to the door. Fight or flight kicked in immediately. I turned and ran back through the doorway and slammed the door to the back room shut and locked it. I grabbed my keys off the kitchen counter and ran out the front door. I fumbled with the keys as I was shaking and panting, and I got the door unlocked when I noticed the garage door was opening and halfway up. I started my car, and as the headlights lit up the now open garage, I saw in the back corner a grown man in a jacket squatting behind a box right next to the door I was going to close. I didn't waste time and floored it in reverse down the driveway and drove immediately to the police station. I was crying and explained what happened, and they said they'd send a unit to check out the house. I sat in my car at the police station texting the wife about what just happened, seeing as they had access to the cameras and could maybe see if someone was in there. No response. About a half hour later, the police officer came back to the station and let me know the garage door was open, but the house was clear and there was no signs of a break-in. They even checked around the perimeter of the yard and nothing was out of the ordinary. They knew I was scared out of my mind, so they offered to follow me back and do another check with me there. After it was done and I saw with my own eyes no one was there, they left. I couldn't sleep. It was going on almost 3 or 4 in the morning at this point, so I just laid on the couch by the dogs, wide awake.
Sorry, you stayed at the property? What? 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 Why would you go back? Am I losing my mind or something? Why would you go back? You had all that time at the police station. Why would you go back? They didn't even catch a guy. What are the dogs doing? Why would you go back? Go home. Why would you go back to that place? Am I losing my mind here? All that happened, and you decided, you know what? Okay, police check the place. Cool. All right, let me go back there and sleep the night. What? Sorry. Hello. What? I'm so confused. What? Why would you go back? Why would you go back? Guy of like it all this red flags. The like. First of all, I don't know what the dog's been doing. Like, that means that man has to know the 2 dogs, because if it really was a random man, the dogs would have like barked at him and like, why'd you not bring the dogs with you? What kind of dogs are they? We don't even know what dogs they are. But I'm assuming this is a firearm place. You wanted good dogs, right? That hurts my mind. Why would you go back?
Gripping the kitchen knife. About 20 minutes after the officer left, I got a text from the wife. Hi, plans changed. We'll be home soon. You can go home now. The complete disregard for the situation that just unfolded that I texted her about. The letting me know you're coming home 4 days early and didn't mention it, and will be here just hours after all of this? I didn't dwell on the moment. I grabbed my stuff and left. Their home is on a rural road, but only about a quarter mile from the main street. As I got halfway to the stop sign and looked in my rearview mirror, I saw a car with no headlights on pull into their driveway. I texted the wife and said, "Someone just pulled into your driveway," as I was leaving. Almost instantly, I got a text back that read, "I know." Chills ran down my spine. They were setting me up. They'd been in the area that whole time. The dogs barking in the middle of the night were probably alerting me that they had been driving on the path behind the house. They shut the cameras off so I couldn't see their creeping movements on the property while I was right there inside, oblivious. I never heard from them again. My friend profusely apologized, saying she had no idea how weird they were and that she'd only known them as coming into the local diner every now and then. She said after that incident they never came in again. I'm 30 now, and I still have trouble with the entire situation. I know I'm okay and I'm safe, but knowing I was just seconds away from God knows what is a feeling I can't seem to shake, and not sure if I ever will be able to.
I'm just more confused. Why would you go back anyways? Like, you had the entire police come over and search, and then they came, picked you up from the police station. Hold on, you left because you saw a man with a knife. You went to the police station. You cried and said, crazy man in the house. The police go there and scan it, they check it, and they say, okay, we saw nothing, come back with us, and we'll go through it properly. You go back with the police to the house, the police look through it, and then you decide, okay, I'm gonna stay here now. What? Go home. What? Why would you? It's not set. What? I'm so. Whatever. Too late. Doesn't make sense. What kind of lesson can you even learn from that story? What would you learn from that story? There's a lot of like things that kind of just like, how do you say it? It's like shouldn't have gone back, right? You shouldn't have gone back. Being a bit more suspicious of the fact that, well, I'm just kind of curious on like what the dog's been doing, right? Like what the dog's doing. What kind of dogs? Like it sounds like the dogs are useful for like 1 second and then they're just out of the story. Like what the dog's doing. Why aren't the dogs following you? Shouldn't you be sending the dogs out to go check first? And like, I'm surely these dogs aren't smart enough to train and avoid the man and like what? Where's the? Again, what kind of dogs are they? First of all, and I'm gonna assume that they are big guard dogs because firearm place, and also the fact that the dogs went outside to bark at something means that they're not just like little, they're not like peasants or whatever you would call them. So, first story really just doesn't make sense because I feel like the dogs should have they should have used the dogs, right? Like what the dog's been doing, and also you shouldn't have just like why would you stay back? And if you should have just like stayed with a police officer or something. And why would you not? If you saw the couple pull back into the driveway or saw an unknown car pull up, why don't you just call the police station again and tell them to come over? Because like it happened on the same night, no? It happened on the exact same night. The police surely would have just came back anyways. So why wouldn't you call them again? Story 2, let's go. Really hard to find a lesson there. It's just kind of common sense, right?
I work as a bartender at a bar and restaurant in a suburb just outside Baltimore. I'll do my best to explain the layout so the story makes sense.
Okay.
It's a busy place with a unique setup. There are no waiters, just bartenders like me and the cooks in the back. If you want to find food or non-alcoholic drinks, you have to order them at the bar, and when everything's ready, you grab it from the counter. I'm not sure why things are done that way, but I guess it had something to do with management being cheap and trying to avoid hiring waiters. Either way, it keeps things fast-paced, which I actually like. For whatever reason, the place is really popular, even though I personally don't think it's anything super special. The atmosphere is lively most nights, with great music, a buzzing crowd, and a standing area near the DJ booth where people gather to dance and chat. The constant flow of customers and the high-energy vibe make the job fly by. I love meeting and talking to new people, so the gig is perfect for me. I would probably lose my mind if I had to wait long periods of time between serving guests, but that's just me. I bet some people are the opposite. That particular night started off like any other. It was a weekend, so things were going to be super busy. I was ready. After a certain time, the bar started filling up with people. It looked like more of a younger college crowd that night, which meant more dancing, more spilling, and a rowdier environment in general. Oh yeah, and worse tips, which kind of sucked for me. This one group of kids just kept on ordering round after round of tequila shots faster than I could line up the salt and limes. It's always chaos when they take over the bar. One of them was so plastered he used the same pickup line on me like 3 times. I was running around doing my thing when I noticed an elderly couple walk in and sit down at the booth in the corner of the restaurant. At first glance, there was nothing strange about them. I just thought it was interesting that 2 people that age would want to come into a rowdy place like this. I didn't have too much time to think about it though, so I went back to work. Fast forward maybe 30 minutes to an hour. I was halfway through pouring a line of gin and tonics when I noticed the couple again. My hands kept working, muscle memory taking over, but my brain was stuck on them for some reason. That's when it hit me. They were just sitting there motionlessly. They hadn't ordered anything either. No food and definitely not any drinks I would have remembered. I looked a little closer and realized that they weren't even looking at each other. They were both fixated at the wall next to them. From what I could tell, it didn't look like they were talking either. It was the strangest thing. I was beyond curious, but the bar was slammed, and I had too much to do to spend time wondering about it. I figured they might be waiting for someone or didn't realize how the place worked. Maybe they were waiting for a waiter to take their order. When I finally had a break, I decided to check on them myself. I walked over to the table and put on my most polite smile. As I approached, neither of them turned to face me. They were both still staring at the wall like statues. I cleared my throat and asked them if they wanted anything to eat or drink. The woman didn't even flinch. She kept staring at the wall like I hadn't spoken at all. The man turned his head slowly, like he was moving in slow motion. When his face came into view, I felt a chill run through me. His skin was pale and wrinkled, and his eyes were almost sunken into his face completely. He didn't speak, just stared at me and shook his head.
Y'all laundering in here. Get out of my business. You're loitering. Get out. Fuck off. You guys been here for like an hour. No food, no water. You're just here. Get out. Loitering. Call the police. Get out. Or like, where's your manager at? You're a bartender. Surely you have a higher up rank commander, no? Surely you have someone higher up, like a manager of the bar. Right? I'm assuming there's always like the boss. Where's your boss at? Hey boss. Those two. Loitering. Get them out. Get out of my Okay.
Once,
calm down.
Firmly but silently. Something about the way he looked at me made my stomach twist. I muttered something in response and quickly returned to the bar. I had the weirdest feeling in my gut after that. Those people looked like they didn't even belong in this century, let alone this bar. I didn't look over at that booth for a long time. Eventually, things started to die down a little, and I remembered the couple. I glanced over impulsively, and I nearly dropped the glass I was holding. Both of them were staring directly at me now.
Where's your boss? Where's the manager? Oi! You're loitering. Get out of here. Get out of my get out. Fuck. Loiter. Get out. What? Who's the command? Where's the manager? Where's the? Let me speak to your manager. Where's the manager? Where's the boss? Hey, those two old fucks, loitering in this bar. Get them out of here. They're annoying me. Their presence is annoying. Go away. Why not just do that? You're just a bartender, so you shouldn't even have that. You shouldn't even have that power. Where's the boss man at? You're just a female bartender doing your job. Shouldn't really be your concern. Your concern is your job is just to bartend, right? Where's the manager? Where's the boss man? This doesn't make sense. Go tell a chef. Hey, chef. Those two have been loitering out there. Kick him out. No?
I made direct eye contact with the woman, but she never averted her gaze. I don't think I'd ever been more uncomfortable at my job than I was in that moment. I looked away and pretended to be busy, trying not to freak out completely. By the time I glanced back again, the booth was empty. I was relieved. I was just glad that they were gone, as mean as that sounds. By the end of the night, I was still thinking about the whole thing. As I wiped down the bar and closed up with my coworker Karen, I decided to ask her if she saw any.
Closed up the bar with Karen. Where is the? How does this bartender shop work? There should be like a manager. Or there should be like the boss. Or there should be like the head chef. Right, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately we have to end the story here. I'll put that here at 16:39. And maybe I'll continue it when I come back, but I gotta do a job now. I have been summoned. Emergency summons. I'll be back later, alright? Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. Alright, I've returned from the quick summons, but 16:30 is where we're at. So, if I remember correctly, so what happened so far? Yeah. First of all, let me quickly recap the first story if you guys missed it. You guys shouldn't have because this is a recording, but First story was just a dog sitter slash, I don't know, probably gonna get human trafficked, but somehow made it alive, but never followed forward with it. It is what it is. Now this story is talking about a bartender, two-woman bartender, but apparently from the beginning of the story they said that there's shifts and things. So apparently there were like two old people at the bar and they didn't kick him out, and there's like no manager or no higher ups. And I think currently at 16:30 in the video, the two female bartenders are closing up. So let's continue the story.
By the end of the night, I was still thinking about the whole thing.
Okay.
As I wiped down the bar and closed up with my coworker Karen, I decided to ask her if she saw anything strange. She's, I guess, what you would call a vet. She's been working there for years and prides herself on noticing everything and everyone that comes through the doors. When I asked her about the couple, she gave me a confused look and said she didn't know what I was talking about. I looked at her blankly and told her I was talking about the elderly couple that was sitting in the corner booth. She shook her head and told me she didn't remember seeing anyone like that. She then jokingly asked me if I was hallucinating, which got a playful laugh out of me, but on the inside though, I was losing it. I knew what I had seen. I asked her if she was sure, and she crossed her arms before listing at least 10 random people who had ordered food that night and what they were wearing. I laughed again and complimented her memory, but like I said before, I was dying on the inside. By the time we locked up, I started doubting myself. As I walked to my car, I noticed something that made me nearly drop my keys in fear. Across the street, there were two dark figures standing under a lone streetlight. I knew it was them. I wanted to scream, but the sound wouldn't come. I didn't wait another second. I jumped into my car, locked the doors, and sped out of the lot without another look. The drive home was awful. I was trying not to break down the whole time.
Why not, like, you know, you get your phone out? What? Hey, hold on. I see two people over there. Gotcha! No? Well, why don't you just do that? They're old. They're frail. What are they gonna do? Chase after you? What are they gonna do? Public space. I could do anything I want. I could just... Evidence, you know what I mean? Plus, if you're really worried about the two old people, shouldn't there be CCTVs in the bar itself? There has to be, right? Obviously, there would be a security camera in the bar because people get drunk and, like, fight each other, no? So, should have just, like, took a photo of them or something. What are they gonna do, run after you?
I just kept repeating, "Oh my God," over and over. I had so many questions. Had Karen somehow missed them? Were those people even real? Was I going insane?
Probably.
I couldn't explain it. I thought I was going crazy. I wish this story had a resolved ending, but it doesn't. I never saw those people again. I never got any kind of explanation. I don't think I ever will.
That was the story. Oh, can't read the comments yet. That was the story. That was it. Just you hallucin. She tripping then. You just tripping. You just mad tripping then. That's all you could. That's all I can say about that. You was just tripping. Because like, if it really bothered you, you would have. You would have like checked the CCTV the next day. Matter of fact, do you know how I know they're do you know how I know she's hallucinating? Because the manager would have told those old people to leave after like 30 minutes of not ordering anything because you're loitering in the store. Like, order something or get out. We got kids. No, we got teenagers and adults drinking. You two old people aren't even ordering any food or water. Y'all just loitering in here, taking up my heater, taking up my space for my potential customers. Get out of here. So obviously she's just hallucinating then, because realistically the manager would have kicked him out after 30 minutes of doing nothing. Alright. I think we can do story 3, and then that's it. I'm going to call it there, and then we're going to go probably to Scorched Earth. Or should I say Cooked Earth. Here we go.
I apologize in advance if I mess up any details about the story I'm about to tell. This is something that my best friend told me multiple times several years ago now. It's one of those stories so unsettling you can't shake it even after hearing it more than once. My friend's dad was a logger, specifically a tree saw operator. For those who don't know, a tree saw is a massive machine capable of cutting down giant trees and slicing them to specific lengths.
Okay.
His job meant long.
So let's get a context here because you didn't show a tree logger machine. Tree logger machine. Yep, one of these things. One of these things. So father worked one of these things. Cool. That's kind of sick though. I've seen how those work. Have you guys seen how those work? They straight up just like, let's go find out. Surely there's a video here we could quickly see to show you what it looks like. Yeah. Yeah, one of these things. Yeah, they cut the tree down, right? They cut the tree down. Yep, and then it like does that. Yeah. Tree logger. Look at that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Nice context. Let's continue the story.
Grueling hours, often alone in the deep, secluded forests of the Pacific.
Yeah, you're alone in the deep forest of like a machine that's like crazy. You know? Hey, you're in the forest alone of one of these bad boys. Ain't nothing gonna touch you. Ain't nothing touching you with this thing. What? You got a straight up a weapon right here. Bro, even Bigfoot would be scared of this thing. Imagine fucking grabbing Bigfoot with one of these things and just like cutting his entire torso in half. That's insane. Matter of fact, you don't even need to use it. You could literally just pick up a tree and just swing at them. This thing's deadly. No joke, you just straight up swing the log at them.
Pacific Northwest. The way his logging crew worked, he was paid based on the number of trees he cut down rather than the hours he worked. So
True.
He would often push himself to work 16 to 20-hour days to finish.
Fair. You get paid on how many trees you cut down, not how long it takes you. Because like, you know, what is that theory principle thing? Like, something like, if the job's about efficiency, you're paying me less money for being fast at my job. But if I slow at my job, you'll pay me more money. So, yeah, you know that theory thing?
Finish jobs as quickly as possible. After he and his coworker finished their part, the rest of the crew would come in to clear the felled trees and transport them to the mill. While he spent about half of his time working alone, the other half was spent with his friend Griffin, another tree saw operator. They used radios to communicate, especially when they worked on opposite ends of the same job site. A number of years ago, my friend's dad and Griffin were assigned to a remote job site high up on a mountain. It took the company over 3 weeks just to clear a road wide enough for their trucks and equipment to make it to the site. By the time they began work, they were positioned in an extremely desolate part of the mountain. They were already 10 days in, making good progress, when they started hearing strange chatter over their radios. At first, the voices were muffled, just faint, static-laden murmurs that didn't make sense. They tried switching channels, but no matter what they did, the chatter followed them. Anyone who's used a standard radio knows how strange that is. It should be impossible for anyone to follow you when you're switching channels. As they progressed farther up the mountain, the voices became more distinct. They couldn't hear full conversations, but based on what they could hear, they both agreed that the tone of the conversation fragments felt off. My friend's dad said it sounded almost casual at times, but the content was unintelligible. They also started finding strange signs that people had been there before them. Random containers, footprints in the dirt, and small makeshift campsites. Like I said before, they were in a place so remote it was practically inaccessible, so these discoveries were deeply unsettling. No one should have been up there. One day, Griffin came across a tent hidden just off a trail and called my friend's dad over. They decided to investigate. Inside, they found a single sleeping bag and a duffel bag filled with the most disturbing things imaginable. Multiple pairs of children's underwear, duct tape, rope, and crude sketches of children being molested. There were even photos of a fresh apple indicating whoever owned it had been there recently. Griffin wanted to pack up and leave immediately. My friend's dad, ever the workaholic, insisted they finish the job. They agreed to limit radio communication to emergencies only and decided to keep working. That night, they sat in the camper, unable to shake the dread that hung over them. The radio crackled to life again, and this time they could make out snippets of a conversation between two men.
Hmm. 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 If you notice someone in the forest with you, perhaps it's not the best idea for both of you to sleep. Like, perhaps one person watches out because now that you know, as we saw from the previous stories, the most dangerous thing isn't Bigfoot. It ain't no gorilla. It's another human. And the fact that you found a tent with bad stuff in it and a fresh apple tells you that there's another human in the forest with you. And that is one of the most dangerous creatures you could come across. I mean, sure, you're like two dudes, right? But you're now in a camper. You're not using your deadly machines. They're gonna jump you at night. GG.
Men. They were talking about mundane things, collecting water and firewood. But the realization that these men were likely connected to the tent freaked my friend's dad out. Griffin wasn't as fazed, but my friend's dad was losing it. The next night, my friend's dad decided to confront them. When he heard the men talking about gathering bush for a fire, he grabbed the radio and demanded to know who they were and what they were doing there. The radio went silent immediately, and the men didn't respond. That silence was almost more unnerving than the chatter. Griffin was upset that my friend's dad had announced their presence,
True.
and the two of them got into a brief argument before deciding they'd escalate the situation the next day. Around midnight, Griffin shook my friend's dad awake, whispering that someone was outside the camper.
I told
The
you.
first thing he noticed was the soft sound of footsteps crunching on the gravel outside. Heart pounding, he fumbled for his gun, only to realize it wasn't loaded.
What?
He had no idea where his ammunition was. Griffin was unarmed, and the idea of calling the police was laughable given their location. They both sat frozen as they heard the camper door handle jiggle. The door creaked open, but didn't fully swing inward. Their camper was high off the ground, and there was no ladder or stool to climb up. Then came the scratching. Long, deliberate scratches along the outside of the door. 4 agonizing minutes passed. Finally, my friend's dad nodded at Griffin, signaling he was going to check it out. He moved quietly toward the door, gripping a flashlight in his shaking hand. Just as he reached the door, it burst open, and he was struck across the face with a knife. His pain was blinding. He fell out of the camper, hitting the ground hard. Before he could recover, a man was on top of him, pressing the knife against his neck. Another man appeared, kicking him repeatedly in the head. Griffin, without hesitation, leapt out of the camper and tackled the man with a knife. The second man bolted into the darkness, and the one Griffin had tackled scrambled to his feet and followed. They disappeared into the forest. Griffin helped my dad's friend back into the truck, and they drove 2 hours to the nearest hospital. It was bad. His face was a bloody mess, and there was a cut across his eye so severe it permanently damaged his vision. They reported the attack to the police, but nothing came of it. 2 weeks later, as the rest of the logging crew finished the job, one of their coworkers was found bound, gagged, raped, and murdered in a ditch.
What? Yo, hold on now. What? Where did that just come out of? Sorry. Hold on a minute. We need to go back there because that just went from that just went. Hold on now. Like what? Let's go back a bit because that caught me off guard pretty badly. Like where did that come out of?
No coworkers. 2 weeks later,
2 weeks later,
as the rest of the logging crew finished the job, one of their coworkers was found bound,
one of the co-workers
gagged,
was found basically cartel murdered.
raped, and murdered in a ditch. No arrests were ever made. To this day, my friend's dad
Uh, am I just like tripping or like after that report that 2 humans are in the forest that you're trying to deforest, try to kill you, you wouldn't like tell the rest of the like be a bit more secure. Be like, okay, guys, the forest we're destroying has humans living in it. Be careful. Don't sleep there at night because we had a camper there and we got jumped by 2 people. It's a bit. Am I the one that kind of thinks that that's preventable right there? That coworker's death. I feel like that's kind of preventable, considering that that was 2 weeks after this knife event that hospitalized your friend, your coworker. Hold on a minute. So, 2 humans are spotted in a forest. You reported to the police. The police came back with nothing, and then you guys just continue working for 2 more weeks until a coworker was murdered. What? Am I the one who's like, guys, there's humans living in this forest. We got to be careful, right? How did he work alone? Who's the management of this team? That I don't know how that's possible. Like that incident hospitalized one of the coworkers. So why wouldn't you, tell everyone else that this forest has humans living in it? Like that's the most dangerous.
Dad struggles with PTSD. His right eye, with its disfigured pupil, and murdered in a ditch. No other coworkers was found back weeks later. As the rest of the logging crew finished the job, one of their coworkers was found bound, gagged, raped, and murdered in a ditch. No arrests were ever made.
That is kind of, I don't even know how that's even possible. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess the people at the logging company don't really care. Co-work, it is what it is. Workers, they put their life on the line.
To this day, my friend's dad struggles with PTSD. His right eye, with its disfigured pupil, constantly reminds him of that night. I'm sure he hasn't had a full night of restful sleep since. I've been terrified of deep woods for a long time now, mostly because of my friend's dad's experience. I haven't heard from my friend or his dad in years now, so I can only hope he's doing all right.
Okay, we're gonna stop there for today. We'll obviously finish it later. Like tomorrow, we're gonna do some cooked earth. But man, that last story is insane. Like how. Hmm. I don't know. It just feels like the moment you know that there's humans living in this rural place you're, working at, and they already try to kill your coworker, you'd think you would take security significantly more concern, especially since you had 2 weeks of like a signal, right? You had 2 weeks of a signal that there's people living in here. They never got caught. They're living in the forest. You, oh, let's just keep working there. I mean, sure, you can keep working there, but like, how does one coworker manage to get absolutely destroyed like that? Like, how is that even possible? Again, I'm not really sure how these teams of loggers work, but like, I get living in a camper not so far from your work site's okay, and you guys had to spread out, right? But I don't know, just after the first kind of warning that there's humans living in the forest, and they literally hospitalize your coworker, you'll try like take precaution. I mean, again, we don't know how to contact. We don't know the exact context on how this coworker died. They could have just wandered out by themselves. They could have been in a group. Perhaps the security was actually fine and they wandered out. Like without the context, we can't fully assume too much. But just the fact that you already spotted humans in the forest and literally attacked you, you wouldn't like, you know, bump up security or maybe like eradicate them first or like wipe them out. You know what I mean? You wouldn't just be, yeah. Can't, don't know what else, what, don't know what else to say for about that third story, man. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, we don't really know the context of the dead person, but if we talk about just the two people themselves, the two workers themselves in the camper, of course your gun would have been more secured, would have had more ammo, and probably have everyone have a gun on them. You know. Right, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate it. We're gonna go straight to Cooked Earth now. I mean, that third story is definitely just like, I feel like throwing in that last part about the coworker being murdered just kind of threw me off pretty badly because there's like no context. It's like, oh yeah, well, yeah. By the way, a coworker died, murdered, destroyed in every single way, and they found in a ditch. No context though. We don't know how they died. They just found a body there. Right. See you guys next time. Yeah. Bye bye.